Welcome to the Reigning Kingdom podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Menning, and I am excited to get started today. We are here. We've got new format, new name, and we're entering into a new era for this podcast. And this episode's really getting us on the road, heading in the right direction for where we're going with this content going forward. So I'm excited about that. I'm also really excited about our topic for today. Let me quick touch on that. Our topic is dominion, and we've been on a kingdom kick for the last couple of episodes, and I don't think we'll ever wrap up our kingdom kick ever, but we're going to wrap up this part of it with dominion and what was meant in the Bible when it said man had dominion. And so we'll dive into verses. We've got video links, all of that kind of things. But with that said, we've got video links. So big changes. If you didn't listen to the last episode, I kind of made the transition and talked to all of you about our change from the Cramming for My Finals podcast, and we're changing over to the Reigning Kingdom podcast. If you're hearing this, you realize you didn't need to make any changes. We made the change in all the podcast apps and out on our social media sites and everything like that. If you were following Cramming for My Finals, then you're still following the Reigning Kingdom podcast. And excited about that. That has been the culmination, I guess, of a lot of things. When I started the podcast originally as Cramming for My Finals, I knew God had been working on a lot of different things in my life, but I had no idea that there would be any reason that Kingdom would be a part of it. But I really didn't know how I was going to cover some of the Bible-related topics. I knew there was that, like I said, that God had been moving a lot of things in my life and changing me in a lot of different ways. But I didn't know what kingdom was. And so as he pointed me in the right direction, this is the topic that kept coming up for me over and over and over again. And it finally opened my eyes to what's really being talked about in the Bible. And it really gave me a chance to understand for the first time ever. Here I am in my mid to late 40s and grew up in a Christian house, grew up in Christian churches, catechism, Sunday school, confirmations, like all those things. Even being born again a few years ago and baptized again, I still didn't, until I started diving in myself and actually asking for some direction, I still didn't realize that the primary message of the Bible is God's kingdom and how it's moving here on earth. And so I couldn't be more excited about being able to have the chance to talk about it. But one of the mantras I will probably repeat over and over again, episode to episode, is I'm here to have a conversation with you about it. I'm not here to preach. I'm not a preacher. I'm not an expert. I'm learning things, and I want to be able to share those things that I'm learning with you and get your opinion and honestly have a real conversation with you about them. And so please, I'll be asking questions throughout this, like, what do you think of that? And shoot me an email, jeremy@reigningkingdom.com. You can, comment on any of the YouTube page, any of the episodes, comment on that with what you're finding. Help point me in the right direction if we're off base on something, all of that kind of thing. You can reach out on social media, any one of the things. I think one of the things I struggled with before is trying to turn this into a monologue, and it's really not a monologue. It's a conversation between you and I to be able to go through and say, hey, this is what I'm finding. Tell me what you're seeing out there. And if this is resonating with you, awesome. Tell me how that's resonating with you. I want to hear it. So anyway, with all that said, kingdom. We talked about it at length in the last couple of episodes, not the last one, but the two before that, and tried to cover some of the basic groundwork of what is being talked about in the Bible when Jesus talks about kingdom. And even in the Old Testament, what's being talked about when the kingdom is being set up here on earth. And I think the main thing I want to recap is that first I'll start with this. I always kind of glossed over some of that kind of thing when I was learning about Christianity as a younger person. Then it would get into kingdom talk, and I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. So I'll just go on to the stories that I do know what he's talking about. And so, you got all the basic stories. You got Adam and Eve and Moses and Noah, and I know those aren't in order. All of that kind of thing. Job, everything that works your way all the way to the New Testament. Then you learn about Jesus coming to earth and dying on the cross and saving us from our sins. Why did he do all that? So we can go to heaven someday, right? And I'm not saying we aren't going to go to heaven someday, but I am saying that wasn't the whole thing. When Jesus came to earth and he spoke, I mean, really stop and think about this for just a minute. After that whole human history from Adam all the way to Jesus, there was a lot of different things that happened. And when Jesus came to earth, basically God in the flesh, coming here to make himself a person, walk among us, and teach us some things, the thing he taught about every day, once he started his public ministry till after he was resurrected, the thing he taught about was kingdom. The kingdom of God. The kingdom of God coming here to earth. Us carrying out his kingdom message here on earth. I hate to kind of say it or be blunt about it that way, but like if you're missing that, you're missing a lot. And I think that's huge. I mean, grace and mercy and forgiveness of sins and all of that stuff is wildly important. Our salvation so that we can, spend eternity with God is wildly important. But it's not the thing Jesus taught about the most. The thing he taught about the most is bringing God's kingdom here to earth. And so let me kind of back that up. Some of the teachers that I learned a lot from through this journey were Miles Munroe and Myron Golden. Miles Munroe is probably more like our parents' era type preacher. I believe he was in Jamaica. He's got a kind of a Jamaican accent. Maybe it wasn't Jamaica. Shoot, but it was in the Caribbean somewhere. Yeah, you guys can beat me up on that. I don't care. Anyway, he was probably what I would consider, at least for our nearby generation, the godfather of teaching kingdom again and what was really being talked about in there. Myron Golden, if you haven't searched him out on YouTube yet, take a look at some of his stuff. We're going to see some of his clips today, and you'll get a taste for what Myron Golden talks about. He talks a lot about business success principles and some of that kind of thing too. But when he preaches, I mean, he preaches about the kingdom here on earth, and he kind of picks up where Miles left off on a lot of that. And both of those guys hit this home, and it's something that it resonated with me, and I wanted to be able to share it with you guys. And that is that the whole Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, if you start to think about it in this way, it's going to make a whole lot more sense. From Genesis to Revelation, it's about a king who's where? He's up in heaven. That's where his mother country is. That's where his rulership started. And he's colonizing this place called Earth to be more like heaven every day. And so here we are, we're on this colony on Earth, and the whole Bible kind of walks through his royal family, his chosen people, the people who carry out his will and work for him, and he spoke to, whether it's through burning bushes or tablets or anything like that. Like, he spoke to these people, and worked to colonize Earth to make it more like heaven every day. So when you start to think about it that way, it can really frame up that, hey, it's not just a combination of stories, right? For me, that changed it quite a bit, because I started to realize, like, there's a mission here. This was God's mission. Like, he put Adam on Earth to start with that, and things went pretty well. Things were going good, and then sin entered the world, and Satan started to divert things, right? And one of the things we'll talk about a little bit more later today is that Satan, like, man, basically, with sin, man handed that dominion over to Satan, and things got ugly. Things didn't go well. Things got really messy for a while. And then God comes to earth as Jesus and basically brings the kingdom back. And the proof of a lot of that is, I mean, there's so much proof for that, but some of the proof that this is God's kingdom and he's back was all of the miracles that Jesus performed while he was here on earth. I don't know. Like, what do you think of that? Like, I think that's interesting, because it's almost a little bit like, hey, let me show you something here. I'm going to perform this. I'm turning this water into wine. I'm using these, what was it, 5 loaves of bread? I'm using these loaves of bread to feed the 5,000. I'm raising Lazarus from the dead. He's healing people left and right. And it's kind of like, hey, here's my proof. I'm the king. I'm back, and I'm here to take my kingdom back. And then Jesus dies on the cross and takes sin on himself, conquers it, conquers death, comes back from the dead, is resurrected, and says, here it is. Basically, now you will be able to go and continue. And what does he even say in there? I'm going to paraphrase this, but he's basically like, you're going to be able to do greater things than I did, even while I was here, because I'm handing that authority, that dominion, back over to you. The kingdom is back. Here you go. Go have fun, preach it, do it in my name. Isn't that cool? So I thought that was awesome. To me, kind of, that gives you a little bit of summary of some of the things we've talked about when it comes to kingdom. Today's episode is going to be a little more interactive. Like I said, we're sharing this on YouTube, so you're going to be able to watch along. I'm very much a visual learner, and so I wanted to be able to have the chance to have some video interaction with all of you. There's going to be times, and maybe in this episode, but it's definitely in future episodes, where I'm sharing my screen, putting up charts, maybe showing like eschatology, what's being taught, how are things moving along, where are we in this timeline, all of that kind of thing. So I think being able to have a video format to this is going to be helpful. For those of you listening in audio land on any one of the podcast players, thank you, and continue to do that. Please continue to do that. I will do my best to tell you what's being shared on the screen. If it's something that's really visual only, I'll tell you about all of that too. But today we got several links, because I wanted to be able to share what helped shape this for me. And as I was preparing for this episode especially, there were different people that I listen to on a regular basis that spoke to little parts of it in their episode. So I brought those clips. I wanted to be able to share that with all of you guys and have you have a chance to see it without having to listen to like 8 different episodes of it, 8 different things. We can share chunks of it right on here and give you a chance to see what I'm seeing in all of this, and hopefully that resonates with you, and hopefully it just helps paint the picture a little bit better for you. So, all right, with that, one last thing. One thing I want to quick talk about is that when it comes to kingdom, and here's something I find interesting, is that most of my life, it felt like when it came to the Christian message, it was this: hey, we're here on earth. We're here for a short time. The goal is to do as best you can. follow God's rules, follow what you're supposed to do, go to church, all that kind of thing. And then the goal is to go to heaven someday. And that's it. We're just basically like grinding by the grit of our teeth and the seat of our pants, however you want to say that. We're kind of grinding through to get to heaven someday. And that's our mission. Like our mission is, and then our other part of our mission is to make disciples of all nations and bring them to heaven with us, right? So that's, a little bit of the Great Commission and, hey, what do you need to do as a Christian here on earth? And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I am saying I feel like it misses the point. And the point is, when you look through the entire Bible and what God was trying to set up here, it's all about creating this colony here on earth to make this place more like heaven every day. This part that we have to do as humans down here right now isn't insignificant. You shouldn't just be coasting through it. At least that's what I'm finding. And when you really read about what's being taught in the Bible, it's that this part here is so much more significant than what we give it credit for. That our goal is we're supposed to act as ambassadors or as officers of his kingdom here in the colony to continue to make this place more like heaven every single day. And to me, I feel like that's what I was missing. That's why I feel like people are missing purpose in life. They're kind of floundering. They're just like waiting it out, trying to live as long as they can. But gosh, whatever. I can't wait for Jesus to come back. And I don't think that's what's being talked about. I don't have all the answers to that, but I'd love to have your opinion on it. From what I can tell, there's a lot more at stake here. There's a lot more being worked on. And we're supposed to be doing stuff, right? So if you've listened to a couple of the earlier episodes, some of that was a repeat, but that kind of frames up what Kingdom is about, kind of the path we're heading down, and where we're going to get today. And so today is, what do you think about man's dominion here on earth? Do you think it's real? Do you think we have some authority here? Do you think we were put here to rule over the earth? I hear a lot of people say, a lot of Christians and others alike, that, hey, we live in a fallen world. And honestly, I don't know what to think about that. Because if the kingdom was restored when Christ died on the cross and came back, he died on the cross, went down, took the keys back from Satan, came back up here, came back to life, and basically handed over the authority and said, hey, I took it, and the kingdom is back, and here you go. Then I feel like we only live in a fallen world if we choose to believe that that's what it is. If we choose to let the deceiver tell us that that's what it is. And it kind of like plays into that whole thing I was just talking about, where it's like, I feel like the Christian message for a lot of people these days is, hey, you're in a fallen world. It stinks. It's terrible. It sucks. Blah, 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 blah. Do your best. Just try to get through it, but don't do anything drastic, and hang on to your salvation, because you're going to go to heaven someday. And it's kind of like, if I was Satan, like maybe that's the lie I would want people to believe, because then they wouldn't do anything significant while they're here. Because what does this place really matter anyway? If we're all going to go to heaven and earth doesn't really matter, why would I waste all that effort at the risk of doing something wrong? Like, you would just like go through this coasting phase of just like, I don't know, I'm just trying to get through it. It's like a bad spot in the road that you're just white knuckling it through. Or, a really difficult class in college where you're like, I don't know, I'm just trying to learn what I can and memorize and get through these tests. And then I get to the end someday. And I don't think that's the point. I used to think that was the point. I've lived almost my entire life thinking that was the point, my entire life up till now. Hope I have a long life after this yet. But because I think we have much more of a mission here than we give it credit for. And if we think about God put all this work in to create the earth, to populate it, to put Adam here, to then things were going bad, so he wiped everybody out with a flood, and then Noah was here. He is trying very hard to colonize Earth and make it a colony of heaven. And our job here, and then Jesus came back, took that authority away from Satan, who'd stolen it from man anyway, and deceived man and all of that, and da da da. Jesus comes back, slams the keys on the table, and is like, okay, we got it back, guys. Now continue with this kingdom work. Make this place more like heaven. And somehow that's gotten distorted over the years. I can't explain it any other way except for it feels like that's gotten distorted over the years. We're officers. We're officers in this kingdom. We are supposed to be doing something. Let me know what you're thinking on that, because doesn't it feel like your life gains this whole bunch more purpose when you're like, oh, wait a minute, we have got stuff to do here. I need to figure out what it is under his rulership that makes sense for me to expand his kingdom, grow it, and all of that. So we're going to dive in here a second. We're going to take a shot at sharing my screens. This one is, let me see, what's this clip here? This is a Myron Golden clip, the Kingdom Concepts Revealed. And this one's a little bit of a longer clip, almost 2 minutes on this one. And it basically says here that we're here to expand his kingdom and that earth is here for heaven, not the other way around. So
But this whole idea that Christians are supposed to be broke as a joke and ready to choke and just living a sad, miserable existence on earth until we all get to heaven, it's so not biblical. It's not biblical. The Bible is a practical book. It's orders from headquarters. It's stuff we're supposed to be doing while we're down here. And it's not stuff we're supposed to be doing while we're here so we can get there. All the stuff that needs to be done to get us to heaven, Jesus did that. He did it. But the stuff we're supposed to do to make our lives better and the lives of the people we serve better, we're supposed to do that part. And so anyway, I just feel sad for people who don't understand these principles, because the whole Bible is about the kingdom of God. Salvation is your entryway into the kingdom. Salvation is not the end goal. The scripture tells us in the book of Revelation, the revelation of Jesus Christ. By the way, the book of Revelation is not the book of Revelations. It's the book of Revelation. It is the revelation. There's only one revelation. There's only one person being revealed. It is the revelation of Jesus Christ. It is not the book of Revelations. There are not revelations. It is the book of Revelation. It is the revelation of Jesus Christ. And in the book of the Revelation, in the first chapter, in the 5th verse, it says that he shed his blood for us to make us a nation of priests and kings. That's the purpose. That's why he shed his blood. Not just to take us to heaven so we can escape earth. God put earth here for heaven, not the other way around, as a place to expand his heavenly kingdom, his heavenly domain, his heavenly dominion. I'm fussing already, ain't I?
Isn't that awesome? All right, so you guys got to tell me what you think of all that. All right, with that, let's go to Genesis 1:26. Give me 1 second here. So Genesis 1:26. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Seems a little redundant there. There's maybe a reason for that. I need to dive into that. Male and female, he created them, and God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it." I'm sure we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on earth. And God said, Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird in the heavens, and everything that creeps in the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. Da da da. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. All right. So, with that, I'm going to stop sharing that for a second. I might come back to that in just a moment. But now is a good chance. I want to quickly share a clip. So this is out from YouTube. For those of you listening along, you're going to hear Myron Golden here in a little bit. And it's just, what do we got? Basically a minute worth of clip here to talk about that very thing. So 1 second here. Let me share this. All right, here we go.
Notice when God created man, Adam and Eve, he didn't say, let there be man. He didn't say, let the earth bring forth man. He didn't say, let the waters bring forth man. When God created man, here's what he said, let us make man in our image. Ooh, that's different. God got ready to create the crown of his creation. He started talking to himself. Let us make man in our image and let them have dominion. Oh. Kingdom, kings, dominion. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and the fowl of the air and over every creeping thing that moveth upon the earth. God made you. Who? Everybody tap yourself on the chest, say me. God made you for dominion. That's why you were created.
All right. Isn't that good? Like, I don't know. You got to tell me what you think about that. I think it's interesting, it's powerful, and one of the things that he is getting at is he says God changed the way he talked when he created man. And what he's getting at is this. Let me go back to the Bible here. Let's go up a couple of verses. All right. So, this whole thing, it kind of goes through, and I'll just kind of jump through some spots here, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day, and he called the darkness night. Da, da, da. And then again, verse 6, he says, and God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters. Da, da, da. And the expanse happened. And so he would say things and it would happen, right? And then God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered into one place and let the dry land appear. And so that's what happened. Da, 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 da. Verse 11, and God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, yielding seed and fruit trees, bearing fruit in which their seed according to its kind, blah, 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 blah. So, and then the earth, okay, and it was so, and then the earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their own kinds, and trees bearing fruit in which their seed according to its kind. Da, 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 da. Then verse 14, God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night. Okay. Let there be signs for the seasons. He keeps saying these things like, hey, I'm saying this and it happens. I'm saying this and it happens. Then God blessed them. So them being what the plants and the creatures and all of the things. And he says, be fruitful, multiply and fill the waters in the seas and let birds multiply the earth. And there was evening and there was morning on the fifth day. 24, God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds." Okay. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth." But when he got to "let's make man," he said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth. So it is separate. Let me just notice that. It's over the birds of the heavens, over the livestock, the beasts, whatever you want to call it, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So he went and created all the things on earth, and then he said, "Let us create God in our image." So I think that's pretty darn fascinating, especially the way Myron kind of breaks that down and discusses, like, hey, wait a minute. This meant something. When he said this way, it really meant something. So one of the things I want to dive into here for a minute is, what does dominion mean? So what's our role? So if you look at dominion, let me just scroll through here a minute and find it. The root word for that is rada. And he said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have rada." Rada? Maybe rada. Rada over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens. In this context, rada means to steward, to govern, or to exercise responsible authority on behalf of the Creator. Did you catch that? It's not dominion through oppression, but delegated rulership. So it's managing creation under God's ultimate rule. So one of the ways to think about that is rada or rada. You guys can tell me if I'm getting that wrong. It's to reign responsibly as God's representative over what he has entrusted to us. But the structure of authority is God-given. So the most logical definition it comes up with here at the end is, rada is the exercise of delegated authority to rule, manage, and bring order, reflecting the nature and the will of God over what has been entrusted. It implies that we should have stewardship, but not tyranny. We should have responsibility, but not exploitation. We should have representation, but not independence. It also says, the last one on here is that we should have action, but not passivity, right? We have a job to do, is basically what it's saying. We have a job to do. So, last quote, rada means to reign or rule as God's representative, bringing order, increase, and harmony to what he has placed underneath your care. Like I said earlier, the passivity, like the waiting for heaven someday, the just kind of buying our time and waiting it out, is not what's being taught when it's being taught in the Bible. It's saying, hey, we got stuff to do. If we just sit here and do the bare minimum and just rely on our one of the ministers I listen to a lot is Joby Martin. He is at, is it 1122 Church or is it 2211 Church? It's one of those two. I better look that up. Joby Martin, great pastor, awesome dude. He says men should not be sitting on their BA, their blessed assurance, right? You don't have time to sit around on your blessed assurance. You have stuff to do. You gotta go take care of things. So I think, to me, all of a sudden it was like ding, 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 ding. Earth was created to expand heaven. It was here to expand the glory of God. It's not the opposite of that. So get off your blessed assurance and go out there and do something. That's kind of what's being said. I could probably wrap up the episode just with that, but we've got more examples. So he didn't just give us that mandate. He eventually sent Jesus himself here to show us how to live it out perfectly. And in a lot of these places, you'll hear Jesus talked about as the second Adam, right? Because Adam was pretty darn perfect himself. There's a lot. It'd be really interesting to learn about what was Adam really like? Because the more you learn about it, the more you realize that Adam was like version 1, right? It's like the first iPhone or something like that. And then Jesus came and nails it. And he ruled with kindness. He healed the sick. He casted out demons. He performed miracles, but he wasn't brash. He might have been a little cocky when he needed to be, especially to the people who needed to see him that way. But he did it in a humble way. He washed feet. He rose people from the dead. He rose himself from the dead. And yet he still continued to speak with gentleness and grace. And I think that a big part of Jesus' time here on earth was to show us, like, hey, this is how you're supposed to do it. Now carry this on and try to do it the way I did it. Don't be a dick about it, right? Like don't be completely arrogant about things. Embody true dominion the way that Jesus did. Use your power, use your control, and use your strength, but wrap it in humility. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, now we're going to transition. I know we got a lot of clips here, and I wanted to be able to kind of nail this and hit this home here. So we're going to jump into another one. Another podcast I listen to a lot. It's out on YouTube. It's called The Deep End. It's Taylor Welch. Taylor also, the dude is so smart, and he's learned he reads and he reads and he reads and he reads and he reads. And he might be a little bit hard to follow sometimes, but there are nuggets in there that are pure gold. And in this particular one, he is interviewing a gentleman by the name of Francis Miles. And Francis is the author of the book, Speak to the Earth. And in this interview, Francis talks a lot about how God revealed to him that the earth was created to serve man. And he goes into detail about what's in Genesis and what God was telling him about how the earth is supposed to work for man in all of this. So let me quick jump over to that one. If you see the title on this one, the title of the podcast episode is The Covenants of Witchcraft and Earth. And I want to talk about that quick a minute, because I don't want that to turn you off. Basically what Francis starts to go through is, he's like, as he started to learn these things, that the earth is here to help man, he also realized that, God, isn't that what people in witchcraft do? And God helped reveal to him that, yes, they do. They do. They use some of the rules that God put in place when he created this place, but they use it not in his glory. So witchcraft is like, hey, we're using the rules, but not for him. We're doing it for our own personal thing or our own agenda. But God is like, hey, most of you that are followers of me don't realize that you have these tools available to you to use for my glory. You can speak to the earth and tell it what to do. That might sound crazy. You need to hear this guy. This was Francis Miles on the Deep End podcast. Here, we got another couple minutes here, about a minute and a half here. And let me show you this one. All right, this is the one.
So now God begins to talk to me. He says, Francis, what you did out there, I was the first being to actually speak to dirt, to speak to the earth. And then he took me to the book of Genesis. Genesis 1 verse 11. And God said, let the earth. And he said to me, do you see that? Who is speaking in the verse?
Did you catch that? That's what we just talked about just a minute ago. God was speaking to the earth and telling the earth what to do. All right? So
I says, you're speaking, but what am I speaking to? I says, you are speaking to the earth. He said, And what did I tell her? Bring forth grass, bring forth herbs, and bring forth trees. And then the Bible says, in verse 12, God is no longer speaking. The earth is responding. And she gave God grass, herb, and seed. And the Lord said to me, and then the Lord, and God said, and then it says, and God said, and God saw that it was good. He said, do you know what that means when I say, when that verse that I said it was good? He said to me, I was certifying the product. It says, because I knew I was going to surrender it to my son Adam when he was created. It says, no manufacturer ever releases a phone or a product out of for massive distribution that has not been tested. I was testing the product to know that it was going to obey the protocols of design. So when it surrendered to man, it worked for him the way it works for me.
Wow.
Right? Okay. So with that, it worked for him. It can work for us the way it worked for him. This next part, he talks about how God transferred that ability over to man. And so I think this part's fascinating. So 1 second here. Here we go.
The earth and the dominion I gave you. Now you're understanding what I meant when I gave you dominion. This is exactly what I meant. I transferred the ability to speak to the earth to man on Genesis 1:26. There was a transfer of administration, just like in the government, when there's a change in government from the Trump administration, from the Biden administration to the Trump administration, it means therefore that that the Biden administration can make policy during the Trump administration. He said, my children are expecting me to make policy that I can't, because I have integrity. I transfer the dominion of the product to you. If you don't speak to her, I can speak to her for you. He said to me, Francis, had you not spoken to the earth today, you'd have joined your mother prematurely, not my will, but because.
All right. I think that pretty much covers that piece of it there. And Francis, if you didn't understand everything he said there, he's basically saying that, hey, and this goes back to some other things I had read and heard about too, is a lot of times the things we're praying for, the things we're asking God to do for us, we have the authority to make happen and do here on our own. Like, he gave us that authority. We should just be exerting it in his name, right? So speaking to the earth in his name, bring forth resources for us in his name, in Jesus' name, all of that kind of thing. So last little bit I wanted to cover, I thought that one was fascinating, was Francis talks about that Mother Earth is a servant, not something to be worshipped. And so for, especially in today's day and age, when they talk about, should men be doing this? Should men be polluting the earth? Well, we shouldn't be polluting the earth. We shouldn't be. But should we be creating things? Are the things that men are doing here on earth, are they bad for the earth? All of that kind of thing. I think this kind of hits on some of that, and it explains how our relationship with the earth should be because of the way that God set it up for us. This one's just over a minute. We'll listen to this again.
And when the Lord is unveiling the mystery of creation of the earth, he tells me, he says, I said, I know, he said to me, I know that many of my children, they attack the new age for calling the earth as a mother, Mother Earth. And the Lord said to me, I want you to know they are right. He says, their problem though is they don't know she's a servant mother. And so they make the biggest mistake you can make is worship the earth. The earth makes a terrible God because she was never meant to be a God. She was meant to be your servant mother.
Oh my goodness.
She's the mother of all living things. Even your body comes from her. But she was meant to be commanded, not worshipped. So when you worship the earth like the new age, you desecrate your place in the echoes of creation, because I made you Lord over her. She's waiting for your commands. And that's why.
Doesn't that just like that, to me, makes a whole lot of sense? What do you think? Like, doesn't that make a lot of sense to you? Like, it all of a sudden my eyes start to open up and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That helps make more sense in what we're supposed to do here every day, how we're supposed to use the things that are around us and use the gifts that God gave us to make this place better every single day. And so he, as you can tell, he's trying to flesh out some of the things between New Age and witchcraft who use these principles. I mean, these guys use these principles all the time. These guys, meaning people that promote witchcraft and New Age, they exploit those things, but not for God's kingdom. They do it for their own personal gain. Things like, I would say, we'll have to dive into this more in a different episode, but manifestation and all of that kind of thing. Basically, one of the things he's saying, I've got this in my notes here, is that those people, the people that are using New Age and witchcraft, are stealing that construct from God, and they're exploiting it. They're exploiting it here on earth, and we have the same tools available to us if we're using it to build his kingdom. With that, all right, I think this is the last clip I want to share here, and that is a different episode of The Deep End where he talks about our authority here on earth and the type of Satan and the type of demons that we are dealing with. And I wanted to take a minute to kind of frame that up because, in the beginning of this episode, I talked about one of the things that bothered me is that people will all say that we live in a fallen world, and people will say that, the earth is Satan's and that he's the prince of this world. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I just don't know that that's right. And I think if we allow him to have control, he will find ways for us to give him the control. And Taylor talks about this. This one's a longer clip, but he talks about this in his episode under the spirit of intimidation. And basically what he's trying to say is Satan and demons don't have nearly as much authority as we give them credit for. We need to be able to stand up, understand what our authority and our dominion are here on this earth, and live it. And when those things prop up and get in our way, we need to be able to cast them aside in the name of Jesus and say, get out of here, Satan, right? Doesn't Jesus say something like that? Out of my way, Satan. I've got stuff to do. So here, take a listen to this. This is Taylor. All right, a little bit longer clip, but I think you guys are going to like it.
So I was talking with one of my friends, Dr. Russ, and he was saying, in the Bible, it says that Jesus gives you the authority to like basically crush the head of the serpent. Mm-hmm. People need to realize, as I've had to realize, that we are not dealing with the same Satan that Jesus was dealing with. They are not the same things.
What do you mean?
They might be the same entity, but when Jesus rocked up on the face of the earth, the serpent had dominion because he stole it from Adam.
True.
And so he could do what he wanted, and that's why he was bargaining and negotiating with Messiah. He was saying, "Look, I will give you the kingdoms of the earth." Well, he was bargaining because he had them to give.
Oh.
Yeah, so the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He's the father of lies, but he doesn't lie in the courts of heaven. He's not that stupid. So when he's negotiating with Jesus, he's not negotiating out of false power. He's negotiating because he has something to give him. It was a legitimate offer.
Yeah.
You bow to me, I will give you the earth.
Yeah.
Because he had it. Because he stole it from Adam. And then what happens is Jesus goes through the process, goes down, grabs the keys, probably doesn't even talk to him, and then leaves. And now we're dealing with a neutered version of this thing. Not the same Satan. Same entity, but with far less power.
Yeah.
And yet he pretends, because it is in our idea of who he is, that he gets power. He can't actually come at us head on. He doesn't have permission to do that. Because if you have the legal authority to stomp on someone's head, the only thing they can do is try to bite your heels, nip at your heels. They're going to come at you from your past. They're going to just bother you. It's like they're acting like people got so offended when Micah Turnbow was sitting in the room and he was like, demons are just like flies. They're annoying. And they're like, no, they have power. They're so offended that he would say demons are not a big deal because they haven't learned how to get authority over the spiritual realm of darkness or the spiritual realm of light. But that's what we're dealing with right now. When you feel like something is outsized, bigger than it's actually a bigger deal than it actually is, at a certain point, you have to go to the spirit and be like, what's the kingdom of darkness trying to trick me into? Because it's not the enemy that can kill you, but he can convince you to shoot yourself in the foot. He can convince you to walk away. And it's at this point of a threshold where the spirit of intimidation shows up because they have lost their authority to stop you. But if they can convince you to slow down and to not walk through the threshold, they win. They don't care.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Is I think when it comes to our mission to expand the kingdom here on earth and do all the things that we need to be able to do, one of the greatest deceptions we have going on is to think that we don't have the authority and that we have to cower to some of these things going on, and we don't. I know I'm going to dive deeper into some of those things that Taylor had just said, but don't you find that fascinating that, hey, wait a minute. When Adam first came to earth, Satan had no authority. Adam had all the authority. And over time, maybe it wasn't all I don't know, but basically over time, man handed all that authority over to Satan. And it took Jesus coming back and taking the keys, handing them like I did earlier, slamming them on the table, and all of that to say, nope, we got the kingdom back. We reign here. This is ours. And you can't do that anymore. So Satan's using the only thing he has left, which is coercion, deception, lies, all of that to make you think that he can be in control of what's going on here. He doesn't have any authority here, not anymore. He maybe did for a while. I don't know. But do you find that fascinating? Like, I find that absolutely fascinating and completely empowering to think that our destiny, our authority over what happens in this world is completely up to us. We just need to get our eyes opened up enough to be able to know we have it. To me, it's one of the most empowering things I've ever learned in my life. It probably is the most empowering thing I've ever learned in my life. So, all right, with that, probably overdoing it on sharing my screen today, but we got this new option with the new format to do it, so we're going to do it. One quick piece in here. Luke 10, verse 19. And so this is basically the section, the return of the 72. So the 72 returned with joy, saying to the Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Behold, I have given you authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy. Okay, stop. Sometimes I think we've glossed over that and we've said, yep, God gave us the authority to tread on serpents and scorpions. Big friggin' deal, right? Like I don't have a lot of serpents out here in my yard. It's November and I'm in the Midwest. There's just not a lot of serpents around. I don't have any scorpions around. But that's not what he was talking about, right? But I think a lot of times we gloss over that. We're like, it's just like whatever. We're the king beast on this earth of beasts, and that's not what he's saying. He's given us the authority to tread on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall hurt you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice in this, that the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven, right? I don't know. That's good. So, all right, how do we wrap up everything we talked about there today? To me, it's not just feel good talk, it's our commission. You've had the path cleared in front of you. It's whether or not you choose to believe it. And you're an ambassador, or what I like to call an officer of God's kingdom here on earth. And you have stuff to get done. One thing we'll talk about in a future episode is victimhood. And victimhood doesn't fit anywhere in God's kingdom, especially when you understand the authority you have and the dominion you have over this earth. You can't be a victim when you are put here to run it. So don't forget that. We're going to cover that in more detail in a different episode. But get out there, create your corner of this earth, and carry the authority that God gave you. I think that's what we're here to do. All right, final challenge. Stop living like you're powerless. Stop waiting for someone else to fix what God has called you to do. Don't forget, you have authority here. He's transferred some of that power over to you. I say some of it because I don't know if I fully understand what all of it is quite yet, but we're working on it. But Romans 8, verse 19 says, "For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons for God." And part of what's being taken out of this episode and all of the different things we've learned is your family is waiting for you to live with kingdom authority. They're waiting for you to stand up and stop being a victim to this earth that you think Satan has control over. Your pets, everything in your pets, like, look at them. They want you to be who they know you are. Like, they know that you are one of God's beings here on earth to live with authority. Quit walking around with your head down. Quit like kicking rocks and being like, "Oh, I can't figure it out. I don't know what to do." Like, go figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, ask God for help. He'll help you. Trust him. He will help you. And you have, I know I've said this over and over, but you have the authority and the dominion to make this life better. So go do it. You can do it. It's going to take practice. You're not going to get it right every time. Sometimes you're going to screw it up. Repent, talk to God about it, and turn around and try again the next day. I'm a list person. I write lists every single day of the things I want to get accomplished. It's probably a fault or a sin of something that I haven't figured out yet, but I feel like sometimes my worth is built on getting things done. And I know that's probably wrong. Like, I know that's probably wrong. But the reason I'm telling you that is, since I started learning all of this, the very first thing I try to put on my list every day, I don't do it every day, but I'm trying, seek the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Usually I just write, seek the kingdom and his righteousness. First thing on the list. It's never fully crossed off, but we can always try, right? So, all right, that's what I had to say to you today. Everything hinges on you getting this carried out, walking in the authority that you're supposed to walk in. So thank you for joining me today. If this challenged you, sparked something in you, felt like it was something you want to share with somebody, please share this episode with a friend. I appreciate it. That's what I feel like our calling in all of this is to do is to share all of this information. If you want more content, please subscribe. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us in your podcast apps. It doesn't cost you a thing. All of this is put out there for free. We just want to make sure you're catching up on all the episodes and start thinking about that. Start praying about what is your kingdom purpose here on earth. And comment, share. If you want to reach out to me, if you've got any questions or suggestions, I'm happy to hear them. You can reach me at jeremy@reigningkingdom.com. Our new website, by the way, reigningkingdom.com. Go out there. You can find us. We're going to be continuing to update that thing as much as we can over time. But otherwise, follow us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and X. I haven't done a lot on X. I haven't done a lot on Instagram, but we're really kicking it on Facebook. Who would have known? Anyway, That's all I got for today. Thank you for joining us, and keep raining on, folks.